So I just have a minute here between things, and I'm actually foregoing a shower to make this video. So hope you appreciate it more than the people that are gonna have to smell me. I will shower later. I just have a phone call to make after this. But I was sitting there thinking, and I got a chain of memories from recently. I was on a trip. I just got back last night for work, and change of venue can be good sometimes. It gives us some space to think, like airplanes, plane rides, or car rides. They can be fruitful opportunities to think in different patterns than we're used to. Unless some inconsiderate old lady's bashing you with her seat. But thankfully that only happened for a minute, because I have no problems chewing out an old lady. Anyway, so my thoughts went in many different directions on many different things over the course of the 6 days I was gone. But one of the thoughts I had had this poignant resurfacing of feelings about my dog that I had to put down recently. And I started talking to the Lord about her. And it's weird, when you go through a lot of hard things in life, I should say, as you go through more and more hard things in life, what you feel, it's meant to change in how it is and how you process that pain. Hopefully becomes less self-oriented, more others-oriented. That's the point. But for me in this case, I was just reflecting on how much I love this dog and how unnecessary her death seemed to me. And anyway, there's a lot that I could say about this, but he came and he taught me some things about other topics that I'm not going to share right now. And then the part of it that he shared, he gave me that I will share with you. So he said, So I'm saying this, I'm sorry this isn't processed well. I'm just trying to not forget the things that are supposed to be here. So I appreciate your patience with me here. All of this is an argument for you to read or reread the chapter called Constraints and Consequences from a book I wrote called The Glory of God is Intelligence. If for some reason you're on this video without having seen any of the others, my name's Rob Smith. So if you can search Amazon for that, or there's a free PDF on the web at upwardthought.blogspot.com. I don't really encourage jumping to random chapters in the things that I've written, but if you read that chapter, you'll find a lot of overlapping themes, and maybe you'll find something helpful to you that's unique to your experience in doing so. Constraints and Consequences. And I say all that in case I don't remember to come back to it. So, when we experience things that we don't like, we should definitely take that to the Lord all the time, and He'll teach us many times. He'll teach us, and if He doesn't teach us, He'll open doors in our lives for the prerequisite experiences and knowledge that we need in order for Him to teach us. A lot of times people complain when they say, well, I pray and nothing happens, and it's like, well, let's look at the rest of your life. It's not like this isn't the drive-through, right? The drive-through fast food theology. All quality things in life, they take time and deliberation and effort, and you shouldn't expect to interact with God in ways that are more convenient and straightforward than, I don't know, like changing the oil on your car. So that's it. That's sort of like a minimal level of effort and scaffolding that's required. So if you think of all the engineering and manufacturing that go into making a car, I mean, even though changing the oil is a piece of cake compared to all that, it's a very minor investment to get the benefits of someone else having done all the rest. And that's how it is when we interact with God. So being well practiced at this, I can have a conversation with the Lord anytime I want, which, because I pulled the covers off, it is every time. Not every time I want, but it's nonstop, and that has its costs and benefits. But anyway, so I was praying like I always am, and I started to focus my mind on this dog. And the part that I'll share with you, you know, when it happened, there's some clever saying that I can't remember about a man who has resolve and the means to do something, like be careful with that kind of guy. And it's something we don't see very often in today's modern age, unfortunately. But it turns out that it's not a good idea to mess with somebody that has resolve and a purpose in life, and who feels things deeply and with reason. So, because those are the kinds of people that end up overthrowing governments, right? That's the founding fathers fit this bill. And any three-letter agencies that might be watching, I'm not making any threats here. That's not on my to-do list. However, when my dog, she didn't die, I killed her. And I think it's important to say that. I don't like when people say, oh, we put her to sleep, or we, you know, I also think people should do that themselves. I think it's important to not traumatize the animal. And I know a lot of people live in apartments or suburbs or places where the cops get called if there are gunshots, but I think it's really important, just like I think it's important that even if you're not going to grow all the animals that you eat, I think you should at least do that with some of them as you can, because it's very important to have the full circle of life that you participate in. People that aren't willing to kill an animal shouldn't eat animals. But it's a sacred responsibility if you're going to do that. Anyway, so I think if you're going to have an animal, you also need to be responsible for all aspects of keeping that animal. Anyway, I'm not alone in that. There are other people who feel that way strongly. But so my dog, before I killed her, euthanized her. There was a reason. She got really sick because she got the rabies vaccine, and she was dying probably from rabies, although I can't, there's no way for me to confirm that scientifically. She had all the symptoms, and anyway, so she was stopping breathing, and I didn't want to just wait for hours of her suffering for that to happen, so I took care of it. But I was talking to the Lord about this because that's all relevant backstory. I was ready to mount an offensive in writing to every single person in this state who has any sway whatsoever to get the law repealed that makes that, it's required for any veterinary service. You have to have an up-to-date rabies vaccine. And we were taking her to get spayed. She had had a litter of puppies, and they were all gone, and the time had passed where that was a safe thing to do, so she wouldn't get pregnant again. And we called around to all the vets and try to see if any would do it without that shot, and none would. They're all law-abiding vets. Need a rebel vet, some back alley. Anyway, we ended up taking her, and she got the shot, and then she died. And so I was praying to the Lord and just saying, like, you know, this is so unnecessary, and why this law shouldn't exist, because people should be able to choose. And the whole reason we did it is because, you know, we researched the pros and cons, and we thought that the medical risks to her getting pregnant accidentally again, this wasn't her first litter, and none of them were accidents, by the way, but you know, goes into the safeguarding of your animals. You need to make sure you keep things so they don't suffer more than they need to in life. And all the negative consequences seem to be long-term things like cancer at the injection site's a really common one for the rabies vaccine. Or temporary things. And we thought, well, cost benefit, let's do this, because nowhere on the list is the dog gets rabies. In fact, I have not found any website that says that that's possible. I've seen many websites that say it's impossible. I would not know. I'm not a vet. I just know what I saw. And I know our vet had no explanation for this. And when I pressed her, she said she would have to contact the vaccine manufacturer to see if it had ever happened. So, yeah, like they're going to tell you. So, anyway, so in taking this to the Lord and, you know, being ready to go nuts on a campaign to get this law repealed, the Lord said, you know, he does, if you've seen The Matrix, the first one, when he says, I need guns, and like the shelves of guns come flying by. When I'm talking with the Lord, when he provides evidence for things, that's what it's like. It's like he queries everything and just brings out pages and pages and pages and pages of examples, so that there's no way I can say like, oh, well, that's not enough to believe you. So he flashed before my eyes shelves and shelves and shelves of people, using the Matrix reference there. Remember when Mitt Romney made the gaffe that he has binders full of people? I had shelves full of people that are just absolute idiots, just morons, and that's not hard to find. And God said, all of these people have dogs. If the rabies vaccine weren't mandated, how often do you think dogs and humans would get rabies? And which is it's almost always lethal situation. I think there may be like one case they know of where a person got better. Allegedly with dogs, it's something like 16%, but they won't give you the opportunity. They'll just kill your dog if they think it might have rabies. So anyway, the only thing that saved mine, this is a funny thing, I'm persuaded, I can't prove this, I'm persuaded if I had taken my dog to the vet without her having had the shot just before, they would have impounded the dog and killed her, because they would have assumed she had rabies. She was foaming at the mouth, she was all locked up, crazy-eyed. She had the paralysis kind, not the biting kind, so she wasn't biting anybody, but I'm convinced they would have impounded her and put her down. But because she had the shot, it was this cognitive dissonance where the vet couldn't use her normal critical thinking process. She had to pretend like it was something else. Oh man. Anyway, it drives me nuts. It's super dishonest. And I'm not faulting her. I feel bad for her. I don't know any vets that got into that for any other reason that they love animals. If they were about the money, they probably would become a human doctor. Probably an oncologist. No offense. But some human doctor where you don't actually do any good, in some specialty where you're not actually helping people, you just get paid a lot, and there's nonstop business. Anyway, so he showed me shelves of stupid people, and I said, yeah, there'd be a lot of suffering if this wasn't mandated. Normal people are just too dumb to have that kind of responsibility. And not just dumb, they're lazy. And, you know, I'm not talking about just a lack of intelligence, but a lack of goodness combined with a lack of intelligence. So the only thing worse than that is a lack of goodness coupled with an abundance of intelligence. And there are people like that in this world. So he said, well, if the choice were between your dog dying or all these other dogs getting rabies, in neither case would it be the dog's fault. I said, you're right. And he said, isn't it better that one dog die, than all these other dogs? And I said, yeah. Yeah, it is. He said, well, I said, but I just wish she had a longer life. And he said, what do you know about that? And he did another flash before my eyes, and I saw, her short life was just full of joy. I'm not saying there was never a time where she wasn't a little sad, but, she never knew sickness or like bad joints or loss, really. It's just all gravy. One thing that I noticed during the time is when she had puppies, it just made her so happy. It was like another level of happiness. She just loved her puppies, and she loved me. She would do this weird thing where whenever she wanted snuggles, she would run from wherever she was in the house. She'd run full speed and just dive, a Superman dive, right into my side. That sounds painful. It wasn't. She was always really gentle with me, but she'd Superman dive into this like tight ball right in my side. Or she'd come over and lay her head on my knee and just want me to pet her forever. And which I did. And anyway, so she had a very, very good life, happy life. And he said, would you really take that? And I said, nope. So he laid out the constraints and the consequences. And so I encourage you to read or reread that chapter, because so much in life is like that, where we see suffering. It's actually the best possible solution to a very complicated problem. And in the end, it's not just like sort of a consolation prize. It really is the best. There is no other way. And so much of this stuff, it's the way it is because it's the best way it could be. And instead of complaining to God about it, which I think you should do, honestly. Don't hold on loosely, right? But he already knows how you feel about it. Do you think you're going to hide something from him? Just go to him in humility, just showing your nakedness, so to speak. How you really feel, just tell him. Let it all out. You probably won't get very far before, he corrects you. And that's a good thing, because it always leads to something better. I'm always going to miss my dog. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, either with dogs or certainly not generally speaking. That, it's ever present. The darkness, it's ever present. But the meaning that overcomes it, the darkness hits us whether we like it or not. The meaning doesn't. You have to search for the meaning. You have to go to God for that. So I got to go, but I felt like I should share that. I don't know if it helps anybody, but whatever pain you carry, whatever sorrow you might be in, the Lord has reasons for why it is how it is. And if it doesn't need to be that way, the best thing you can do is go to him so he can show you how to change it. And if this is the best way it could be, the best thing to do is to go to him so he can show you that. So that chapter, Constraints and Consequences, it's not the best written chapter in the world, that's for sure. I could do better if I rewrote it today, but I think it's good enough that hopefully you can get some value out of it. And if not, you can use your brain and make it better in your mind as you read. But take care.